All right, let's go back to Brock Purdy, though, for a second. I think that we all knew when Brock Purdy started, whatever it was, 12-0, 11-0, whatever, that he would lose a game. And I think as he was playing this incredible football, I think everybody intellectually understood that he would lose a game and he would throw picks. And people were real like, oh yeah, of course. Oh yeah. I know he'll lose some games. Oh, I know he'll throw picks. But man, he's something else. He's special. He's the guy. And then all of a sudden he lost the game and he threw a pick. And then everybody bailed. Everybody's like, fuck that. I know it's intellectually dishonest, but hell with it. I don't think the guy's the guy. Explain this to me. This was a trend that bothered me to no end. Why?
You got to give me some examples, dude.
Give you some examples?
Yeah, give me some examples.
Jesse himself is an example. He tweeted about this.
Let's talk about it.
Let's get into this. I actually had my son send me a tweet. A guy says a couple weeks ago, I'm telling you.
Let's be clear. This is not me that you're talking about.
This is not Jesse. This is somebody else. This guy goes,
Jesse anyway.
Officially buying a Brock Purdy jersey tonight. So he's all in on Brock Purdy. The next tweet, this Brock Purdy guy is pretty damn good. All right. Then that's when he won. And then when he lost, same guy, Purdy might not be it, guys. I'm telling you, teams are not afraid of Purdy. So it's like when he win, we all know that no quarterback has ever gone undefeated. We all knew when he was winning all these games that he wouldn't go undefeated. We all knew when he wasn't throwing any picks that eventually he was going to throw some picks. So you kind of had to evaluate knowing that those things are inevitable. But it's amazing how many people shifted from he's the guy to he's not the guy.
No, one person did.
Well, I just gave you just asked for one example. There were many people. I got to scour the fucking internet for you. Go check it out for yourself.
Because you're asking me to respond to what a bunch of fickle 49ers fans are saying. And honestly, I don't know why they were in on Purdy and why they changed their opinion.
Well, I don't know. Go ahead, Jesse, because you are also in this camp.
But I wasn't, and I want to be clear about this. I wasn't in that camp because my opinion hasn't changed, Larry. It never has changed. And people want to take little bits and pieces and be like, oh, now you're flip-flopping. Like, no, my opinion of Brock Purdy, and I got a video that came out around 7 months ago where I laid this out very clearly. I think it's very clear that Brock Purdy right now with this team, we didn't need to see this year to know that they could win games with Brock Purdy and go very far. We saw it last year, okay? So it stands to reason that it could happen again. My whole video, the premise was Mr. Right versus Mr. Right now. And my point was that I believe that Brock Purdy is Mr. Right now, but I do not believe that he will be a franchise quarterback long term. When you start to pay him and you start stripping away talent, I don't think he'll be that guy. That was always my premise. Now, we're not going to know the answer to that for years, and that's fine. But you had people literally, and this was, I thought this was embarrassing and not going to be me. You had people literally coming out and apologizing for a football take. Like, let's get this through. People put so much pressure and talk so much shit that people feel like they have to apologize for a football take.
Well, why? Why do you have to apologize? Why don't you just have the conviction?
Larry, that's what I'm saying. You don't have to. And so my tweet said, hey, I'm glad I didn't cave in and acquiesce to all these people that are adding me every week when he plays good. Are you going to apologize? Are you going to say sorry now? No, my take was never that he was a bad football player or that they couldn't win with him now. I never said that. So I'm not going to apologize for a take that I'm not going to know the answer to for a few years. And I'm glad that I didn't acquiesce the way a lot of people did and folded and didn't stand on their own 2 feet when it came to their takes and started apologizing. Like, to who? You don't know Brock Purdy, and you had a football take. Nobody was getting personal. If you were like, hey, Brock Purdy is not going to be a good football player, also terrible human being, let me tell you. okay, yeah, you probably should apologize because now you're getting personal, but it's a football take. I'm not apologizing for a football opinion. Sorry.
Well, no, my
But
point
my
is it's
opinion
all
has
about
never
the
changed.
timing.
The
It's
opinion
the
has never
timing.
changed, is what I'm saying.
It's the timing of it. It's okay. I'm going to say positive things about Purdy when he wins, but then I'm going to remind everybody when he loses that I don't believe in him long term. And I guess I would say to everybody is, you know what? It's intellectually dishonest if you only back a guy when he wins and don't back a guy when he loses. My evaluation of him includes I know he's going to throw picks. My evaluation of him is I know he's going to lose games, and that I think he's the guy for the 49ers, short term and long term. That's where I'm at. I may be right. I may be wrong. And I'm happy to live with it either way. But that's my evaluation is that I don't have like today guy and a tomorrow guy. I just evaluate it as you are the guy or you're not the guy. I think he is the guy.
Hold on. I think we're conflating two different things, and this is what frustrates me too. There's an opinion, and then there's being a fan of a team. Again, as a fan of a team, you have one job. That is to root for the players on the field when they play football. So that's what I'm going to do. I never thought Jimmy was a good quarterback, but I sure as hell rooted for him every time he played. So because I have a take that I don't think Brock Purdy, and this is kind of the vibe that I got from you when you were doing your show the other day, because I have a take that doesn't believe in Brock Purdy long-term being a franchise guy, a guy that's going to carry a team and be worth $50 million a year. I can't root for him in the moment, or I can't evaluate him in the moment and say, hey, today was really good. These are the things that he did awesome. Great job. And, oh, today wasn't very good. These are the things he needs to improve on. I have to remove myself from being a fan of him.
Well, I wasn't speaking
and
about
a fan
you,
of
Jesse,
the 49ers because I have an opinion that I don't think he can be the long-term guy. Like, I think we're conflating different things.
I think what I'm talking about, and I was not talking about you, and I know after I read your tweet, there were a lot of people going, oh, dude, you're going to need to talk to Jesse. And then all of a sudden I looked at your tweet and I'm like, oh shit, we're going to have a topic to talk about because Jesse is very much like, hey, I don't think Purdy's the guy long-term. So my purpose in bringing this up is I think we've all now seen enough. Okay. Enough time has gone on, and it's time for people to get off the fence and commit one way or another. I'm going to commit.
Hold on. You think you need to commit long-term right now? We've seen enough that everybody should commit long-term right now.
I think you should. I think we've seen enough football, good and bad. There's a lot of, how many games do you need?
I can't.
How many games do you need?
He hasn't even played a year.
We're watching Jalen Hurts, who's played for 3 years, and we still don't know if he's necessarily the guy. This is not a
You don't think Jalen Hurts is the guy? I definitely think Jalen Hurts is the guy.
I'm not saying he is or he's not. I don't know is all I'm saying. He has so many ups and downs still that I'm like, shoot, I don't know. I don't know for sure. Give me time to evaluate. Like, why do I have to rush to judgment on a guy who has 15 starts in a career and be like, all right, I for sure know this. Now, I have given my opinion.
Well, I mean, okay, so
before the season started, I gave my opinion.
You can wait to the end of the Kentucky Derby to tell me who you think's going to win, or you could tell me when the race is
Larry. My opinion is I don't think long term he will be the guy. I've never jumped off of that take. I haven't. But it doesn't mean that I know that for a fact. I don't know if he's going to be the guy.
You kind of referenced it. You kind of referenced it in your tweet that there's like pressure on people to go with Brock Purdy.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, there is. Look at your chat, bro. Everybody in here. You're a clown. You're this. Come on, man. Like, these people are wild. They're crazy.
But I mean, look. I mean, the other day I tweeted out, "Hey, I'm not saying that this it means anything, but by the way, the Niners played the Giants without Saquon Barkley. They played the Rams without Cooper Kupp. They played this team. They played Dallas without this player. And I said, I'm not saying the Niners wouldn't be undefeated, but I just said it is interesting that they've played all these teams without all these great players. They missed Trevon Diggs. They missed all these guys. Dude, I got all kinds of illogical 49er fans. Dude, you're an idiot and all this stuff. It's like, why? I pointed out a fact that the 49ers, I'm not saying, and I prefaced it by saying, I don't know if the 49ers wouldn't have been 5-0, but it is interesting to me that every one of these teams that they played, that one of their best players was not playing. It was a fact. It was just a simple fact. It was like, this team, these guys weren't playing. This game, these guys weren't playing. I didn't say, hey, the Niners are 5-0, but in reality, they would have been 3-2 if these other guys had played. I just pointed out the fact that they hadn't played, and I got all kinds of hatred. So I get it. You push back against the home team, there's always going to be some pushback. But you make anything in any way that people view as a slight of the Niners, they're going to view it like, hey, man, you're attacking my kid. And I'm Niners. I'm Mr. Niners, so I'm going to push back. Even if I love you. I mean, some of these people were saying heinous things. I'd look at their thing and be like, dude, you're following me. You're following me, and you got all this vitriol towards me, and I just stated a fact. And I prefaced it. Whatever. It just shows the illogical nature of fans.
Here's my thing.
My point is how you can wait. I mean, we have people that claimed they loved Brock Purdy that literally put out every negative thought they could possibly come up with, or anybody else could come up with, about the player, and then would say they like him. So that kind of like, hey, I'm talking out of this side of my mouth. Hey, I'm talking out of that side. I love the guy, but I think he's terrible.
Yeah, but Larry,
I love the guy, but I don't think he's got a good enough arm strength.
Larry, let's keep it a buck for a second. Let's keep it. You do that with Trey Lance. You do that same shit with Trey Lance. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Yes,
I never did with Trey Lance.
Larry, every chance you get, you say somehow this guy that's not on our team, you'll say, hey, Brock Purdy, I mean, he hit all the short passes. We had a guy here who's no longer here that couldn't even do that. But I think he's going to be a franchise guy. It's like, hold on a second. Like, you can't have it both ways.
First of all, because we're talking about now versus the distant future. I still believe in Trey Lance, distant future, but I've already talked about it. I've said everything there is to say. You have to continue to evaluate. He was an incredibly raw prospect. People were arguing this summer that he should have started this year. The coach, I love the coach. The coach in a stream with me 3 weeks before the season started said the Niners ought to tank the year because they didn't win the Super Bowl and go with Trey Lance because of upside potential. I said that was crazy. So I'm just saying, there are people that have had. I did not talk out of both sides of my mouth with Trey Lance. I said it right up front. I don't think this guy's ready to play right now, and I said it months ago. And I really believe in him long term, and I still do, because I believe that it's not rocket science and it's not a million things going on. And he's got all the boxes checked as far as my evaluation. Smart enough, athletic enough, dedicated enough. He's going to get there. I really believe it. To this minute, I believe he's going to get there, but it's going to be in the future.
Let me say
it wasn't going to be Heinz Field in week 1, and people were arguing aggressively that Brock Purdy wasn't the guy. And then when Brock Purdy was the guy, then it was like, well, wait a second. I don't know. I mean, so that's what I'm saying. It's like, here we are. We've now seen a bunch of games. I think we've seen enough to say, whether you think the guy's going to be the guy long-term or not. And guess what? It doesn't matter. Being wrong, it doesn't matter. Your credibility is not tied to if you're right or wrong on the quarterback. It's not. These people that are so guarded of their opinions. I tried to explain this to Ted Talks Ball. He was like, wouldn't give in on the Purdy thing. He's not the guy. He's not the guy. I'm like, Ted, he completed 95% of his passes last week. He's not the guy.
He's doing what you're asking, right? He's staying on his take with conviction. He's standing on it, and he's remaining on it. But he's doing what you're asking.
He didn't stand on his take. 3 weeks later, he's like, he is the guy. But now he's probably back. I don't know. I've muted. I don't know.
Here's my thing,
I have
Larry.
No idea. But I'm just saying
is
make a call, right? Like at this point, it's okay to be wrong.
Yeah.
But all I'm saying is we all can wait till after the game to tell you who's going to win and be right. Okay. We all can wait till there's a minute left in the game and to tell you, you know what? I think he's right. To me, if you're going to say you think he's right, he's good or bad, make the call when there's still some question. don't wait until it's official and then tell me, well, you know what? He's won the Super Bowl and he's got a 90% win percentage and he's the top rated quarterback in the league and he's in his third, you're saying maybe in his fourth year. I mean, you're like literally want to wait till this fourth year to tell me if the guy's good or not. All I'm saying is just tell.
That's not what I said.
Well, you said the Hurts is too early to judge.
Hurts is a different situation. Hurts is not.
But you're asking two different questions. Wait a minute. If the question is if he's good or not, he's proven he's good.
Yeah.
The question has never been is he good or not. It's how good is he?
What I'm saying
is he a franchise quarterback? Is he a top 5 guy? Should he get $42 million when he gets paid and all of those things? And all I've said, because you're getting mad at the guy who's actually had a take on it, because I'm the one who's just been like, yeah, dude, I got to wait and see. Every time he plays well, I'm like, yeah, dude, I got to wait and see. Every time he plays bad, I'm like, yeah, dude, he played bad, but it's not like that's changing everything. And
we're
I am
all
remaining
eventually
like
going to find out.
Because I need 1 year. I got to see.
Okay, so that's your barometer. You're saying 1 year.
I got to see him start 1 full year.
Okay.
So
how many games has he started so far? Right now he's 13-2, so that's 15 games. That means 2 games from now you'll make your decision.
No. Okay, if you want me to,
I want to see him. I'm asking the question. He said 1 year. It's a 17-game season. He's played 15 games. I want to see him
start to finish, be the starter, and go through the season.
So it's one full season.
Yeah, I think he's good.
And what if there's injuries, Vish? What if he misses 7 games a year?
And that's the point. That plays into it too. Because to me, when we're talking about these guys that are high-level franchise quarterbacks, availability is 100% part of that discussion, right? The best quarterbacks start 17 games a year. We talk about them after. The first question of whether they're going to play, we expect them to play 17 games a year. So then if he gets hurt again, it's going to be hard when we have that discussion about, well, is he this? Because, yeah, he's played well when he's played, but can he find ways to protect himself and stay off the field? Some NFL injuries happen due to fluke, but there's also ways that we see that the Bradys and the Mannings ensure that they stay on the field week after week after week. So there's a lot that goes into it.
My point is that people they don't really support Brock. They're just grudgingly supporting him because how could you not? Because he was winning all these games and he has these unbelievable numbers.
Yeah, but
so how could you not?
But Jesse and I can't answer for how other people support or not support Brock.
Exactly.
Tons of people come through the woodwork
that I don't even know. I'm not going to answer for people I don't know. I can't do that.
Tons of people coming through the woodwork. I'm just saying, I'm observing Niner Twitter.
Okay.
And I'm saying lots of people wait until they like if you said as he's completing 95% of his passes 3 weeks ago, hey, you don't expect him to win every game, right? People would be, of course not. You don't expect him to not lose a game because he throws a couple picks, right? Oh, no, of course not. He's going to throw picks. But then in the moment when he actually loses the game and he actually throws the picks, they bail. And they're like, I'm telling you, I can't stand this one too. He's not him. I mean, that's just so nauseating. But I mean, there's lots of people who wait until he has one bad game or an interception and they come raining down. They don't believe. And I think it's hilarious. And I think Brock at this point
he's had one bad
finds
game
it hilarious.
At this point, right?
Like some people would say 2, right? Because some people would say the Cleveland game was a disaster.
Well, that's the only one I'm saying. Do you think the Minnesota game was bad? I don't think it was bad.
I don't personally. My evaluation of it is that I think Cleveland is a phenomenal D. I think that's a great secondary. I think they had Tomlinson played huge up front. Garrett's a star. JOK's a star, in my opinion, and I think that's just a great defense.
Sure, we can acknowledge all
really,
that and
really
say he
well
played
against Minnesota,
though, right?
I think he played well against Minnesota, and then threw 2 picks.
And
those 2 picks were terrible.
One bad game.
Yeah. But my point is, it doesn't matter because I'm all in anyway. I believe the guy is going to be good. I've checked all the boxes. I've talked to the guy. I've viewed all of his film. I've seen enough to know he can process. The ball comes out on time. He's accurate. He's never going to be the biggest guy. So I know that. But the question is, does he have requisite arm strength? I think he does. So I'm factoring in his weaknesses anyway. And also, believe me, I saw him at Iowa State. I didn't think he was that great at Iowa State. Greg Cosell had an interesting thing the other day on the radio where he's like, you know what? Some of the evaluators that he talked to said that not only did he not have great arm strength at Iowa State, that his accuracy was kind of spotty. And so I'm kind of on the lookout for that, for like spotty accuracy and lack of arm strength, which would then come on, those are two really huge factors in a quarterback, and that's what I'm looking for. But even so, I think I've seen enough when practicing in games to know that he's accurate enough in my mind. He's got enough arm strength in my mind. So I'm making the call right now. And if you don't want to make the call right now, that's fine.
What's the call?
The call is that this is the guy. This is the guy long term. And
Okay.
now, whether they win a championship or not, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to win a championship. Only one team wins a championship.
What is long term, though? What is the
still.
long term, though? If you're giving me the terms of like, okay, if you're saying he's the long-term guy, that means you think he's going to get multiple contracts from the 49ers. He's the next 15 years. This is the guy that's going to start. Is that the statement you're making?
I mean, there's all 15 years. Now you want to see two more games to get to a full
8 years from now, is Brock Purdy the starting quarterback? I think that's fair. 8 years from now, do you think Brock Purdy, barring injury, barring catastrophic injury?
I'm going to predict what he's going to be in 8 years, but you guys can't make a statement of what he is.
I told you what I think. I don't think
he's the guy. Because but here's the thing: the game beats up. The game beats up.
Question. Ask me: do you think Brock Purdy's going to be the quarterback in 8 years?
Well, I'll make my own terms. Okay, I don't have to go 8 years. 8 years is arbitrary. I'll say this: do I think this guy's going to be the starting quarterback? Because the average career in the NFL is short, and who knows? I mean, this guy could. This guy could be destroyed physically in 3 years.
I'm giving you the out of injury. I'm not injury aside.
I'm saying he's the guy. I'm saying he's absolutely the guy. In my mind, he's
in 8 years he'll be the quarterback, barring injury.
Well, I don't know about 8 years, Jesse, because 8 years is a long time. I don't know if anybody's going to be here in 8 years. 8 years ago,
I don't know if we'll be alive
on Sunday.
I mean, seriously, 8 years. How many quarterbacks in the NFL currently are in their 8th year with their team?
Oh, okay, but no, give us the timeline as well, because this is what I'm thinking about when I'm talking. When you ask me, is he the guy? Put my stake on it. I'm not thinking about.
I'll say 3 to 5. If you want to go long term, I'll go 3 to 5. Yes, I think in the next 3 to 5 years, absolutely, he's the guy. Now, I don't know about the franchise. I don't know about the line. I don't know about what he's going to be, how it's going to look. But yeah, I actually. If we had to, if it was like one or the other, like 8 years or nothing, I'll go with 8 years. Yeah, I'll go with 8 years.
You think he'll get? So you think he'll get a second contract with the Niners and remain the starter through it? Okay, fair enough.
Yes.
Fair enough.
That's my evaluation of it. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I've been wrong before.
And that's fine, Larry.
I just think that it's weak. I don't know. It's weak sauce to praise the guy when he wins and then to say he's not the guy when he loses. You should come out and say he's not the guy after he completes 95%. You should go say he's not the guy after he throws 3 touchdowns and leads them from behind in the fourth quarter. Anybody can play the recency bias and wait till the guy loses, play to the immediacy factor and be like, he's not him. After they just watch 2 picks. That's all I'm saying. It's just really
here's
easy.
my question. Why do you have to decide? This is annoying to me, and I'm not talking about you, but this entire concept of every time he plays well, I need to have a definitive opinion that tells everybody Brock Purdy is Tom Brady, Joe Montana, franchise quarterback, all of that. And then when he plays poorly, this entire fickle exercise of then writing him off, he's not the guy, whatever, it's a waste of time.
No, it isn't. It's called courage of your convictions. You either have the courage of your convictions or you do not. You either believe in the guy or you don't. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong. Believe me, I'm not saying I'm right. It's an opinion. I've been wrong tons. And if you don't believe me, go look up my Twitter because I don't erase all my tweets. You'll find all kinds of mistakes. I'm not afraid to be wrong. People don't watch my channel because I'm right all the time. Hopefully they watch because we're creating some dialogue that makes them stretch their boundaries, entertain them, right? Other factors besides, I'm not, if I was right all the time, I wouldn't have a YouTube channel. I'd be sitting in a posh 5-star, pimp pad in Vegas, and I would walk down to the casino with girls on my arm every night and just say, you know what, I'll take the
Larry,
bills.
The wife's on vacation and all of a sudden,
she's in Mexico.
She's
in Mexico.
Yeah,
at that point, who knows? I mean, if I'm really rolling that fat, I mean, she might be okay with it. You know what? I mean, I wouldn't be doing this if I knew the future, right? If I really knew the future, I would just be hanging out in the casino, cashing money, making money every night. I wouldn't be sitting here. I'd just be making money. So there's no question. Do you or do you not know the future? I don't know the future. All I'm saying is use your instincts, use your vision, use your football knowledge, use your perspective, and make a freaking call.
Yeah.
And don't be, and who cares if you think he's not good and he's good? Who cares? So what? I mean, you're not going to lose anything.
Larry, there's two different things at play. Okay, first of all, I'm not going to defend other people's takes. I don't care what other people's takes are.
But you see them at least. At least you can acknowledge that you see them.
But I'm very rarely, unless somebody comes at me, like if somebody, and I'm feeling petty, like if somebody comes at me and is like, you were wrong on this. And I'm like, okay, but then we find out later I was right, but they were the ones that kind of started it. Sometimes I'll get petty and be like, haha, I was right.
That's okay, dude. Petty is fine. Petty makes the world go round.
But hold on. My point of this is I'm not the guy that's going to go through everybody's takes and be like, you were wrong and you were wrong. I don't care. I don't care. But here's what I will say. Because I have an opinion that is different on Brock Purdy, and I think both can be true. You can believe in him with everybody around him and the way the team's set now and not necessarily believe in him long term. Like Nick Foles won a Super Bowl. Joe Flacco won a Super Bowl. Lots of guys have been good for short stints and haven't been, quote unquote, the guy long term. Both can be true. But let's take Brock Purdy out of it, okay? Because people get real emotional when you talk about Brock Purdy one way or another. I'm going to give you two quarterbacks that I had a strong opinion on. Okay. Two different quarterbacks. One of them is Zach Wilson. The other one is who's buddy from I'm drawing a blank. Texans. Vish.
Oh,
CJ Stroud. Okay. When Zach Wilson came out, I said, I don't think he has it. I think that he can do all the wow plays. He can't do the basics. He's never going to make it in this league. And then for 2 years, I watched that very thing that I thought going into the draft play out right in front of me. But I still don't have the hubris to say that I know for sure he can't. I wanted to see a third year before I was going to write him off completely, even though this is what I thought. I was very firm on that. I was very vocal about that opinion. And I watched it for 2 years. I still was like, hey, I don't know that I'm right for sure. Like, let's give it another year. CJ Stroud had a very strong opinion that he was by far the best quarterback coming out of this draft. Right now, that is very much playing out in front of our eyes. But I'm also not going to have the hubris to say, oh, see, told you I was right. Because in 2 years, he may not be the best quarterback in this class. I like to give quarterbacks usually 3 years. Sometimes there's a weird circumstance, not 3 years in the league, by the way, 3 years of actually playing football before I can say I'm right or wrong. That does not mean I'm not going to have an opinion. I always have an opinion, but I'm not going to say that my opinion was right or wrong. Even when it looks right in the first 2 years or the first year, I'm not going to have that much hubris and say, oh, I'm right. Because I know in 2 years that it can change. I've seen it happen with many quarterbacks. So that's how I evaluate and say, all right, I'll revisit this in 3 seasons and tell you if I was right or wrong on that quarterback. Right now, I don't know. Right now, it looks good. Right now, it looks bad as far as my take. But in 2 years, that could change. So that's where I'm at with it. I'm never not going to give you an opinion. I've been very clear about my opinion and what it is on a lot of quarterbacks, Brock Purdy included. I thought Brock Purdy was a third-round talent. I also don't think he's a franchise quarterback. So I think I was right as far as him being a lot better than what most people thought coming out of the draft. But I don't know if I'm right on the long-term thing because it hasn't been long enough. So I'm not sure if I'm right, but I do have an opinion. Absolutely. I have an opinion.
CJ Stroud, by the way, has completed 59% of his passes so far. I don't know. I mean, it's,
but is he not the best quarterback out of the rookie quarterbacks that have come out so far this year? Like he's by far been the best. How can we
even say, right? Because you guys don't want to wait 3 years. So
I'm saying right now in the moment, has he played the best, Larry?
I haven't studied it enough. I need more information.
So do you want me to pump my chest and say I was right, or do you want me to be fair?
I would say be careful about that. He's completing 59%.
Okay. I would say be careful about
I like
that.
CJ Stroud. I like CJ Stroud, but he's completing
59% number. Be careful about that.
That's kind of a low. That is kind of a low percentage. 59%.
He looks good.
CJ Stroud looks very good.
I know,
we'll
but
see.
Right now he's got the same career completion percentage.
He has nine touchdowns to one interception
Sammy
as a
Dimes
rookie
and
quarterback
Sam
on
Darnold.
the Texans.
No, I know. He's got some good weapons too. I like him actually. I like him. But 59%. When someone showed that to me, I was like, "Whoa, that is kind of low."
John Elway completed 56.9% for his career. Is he a bum?
No, he was pretty good. He was pretty good.
He was pretty
But
good.
he was a bum in the Super Bowl against the Niners.
Okay. All right.
He was terrible. He was probably the reason they lost the Super Bowl. But he all worked out all right for John. No, I'm just saying it's so nauseating. It's like the same people, and I'm not saying you, Jesse. I'm saying the same people that are willing to say he's great are just riding this roller coaster. And it's just this whole thing. Today, whatever he does today is what he is. And it's like this becomes this avalanche negativity.
And that's what I'm saying. That's what is frustrating to me. That's what's frustrating to me. That's what's frustrating to me. And I like, again, it's hard for me to answer to another person's thinking, but I think it's frustrating that there needs to be a definitive Brock Purdy career take after every game he's had. If he has a good game, it means, holy cow, he's Joe Montana. If he has a bad game, bench him, play Sam Darnold, whatever extreme argument you want to make negative against him, that's what gets made. And my entire situation with this is we have to see him go through the ups and downs for a year and see how he goes through that. There's no reason for me when he plays bad to come in and tell you he's the worst quarterback ever. Yeah, he played poorly against the Browns. Bad game. Did not change my opinion of him so far. He's played excellent in a lot of different games this year. It furthered my confidence in him. It furthered my confidence that, hey, he can be this kind of player, but it didn't all of a sudden make me think, God damn it, he's Joe Montana. It's been confirmed. Just because he played great against Dallas on Sunday Night Football, there we go, he's Joe Montana. And so I think part of my frustration with this entire conversation, this is not specific to you, Krug, this is just kind of how it just goes around on 49ers Twitter and amongst everybody else. It's just constantly can you anoint him or can you put him down when, hey, he's a young player that's having his career play out as well. He's going to have ups and he's going to have downs, and we can't anoint him after the ups and then cut him after the downs. That's not a healthy way to go about going.
Well, it's not even about healthy. It's totally dysfunctional. It's like, you know what? We can say, if we take the name out, we can say that no quarterback wins all the games.
No.
And no quarterbacks out there that doesn't throw picks. They all lose games and they all throw picks. Okay, we can have that discussion, but then as soon as the quarterback wins a bunch of games, it's like, hey, he's the guy. And as soon as he throws a couple picks, I told you he's not the guy. I knew he wasn't the guy. I've never believed in this guy. And it's hilarious. And it's like, you know, I know it fuels Brock to some degree because I know what kind of guy he is, and you know, so he loves it. It's like, bring it on. But it is interesting because, like, if you're one of these people that doesn't believe in Brock Purdy, you had to be sick to your stomach watching the first 3 quarters of that Viking game because Troy Aikman was making him sound like Joe Montana. Troy Aikman, sounded like he was in love with Brock Purdy. And then, of course, Purdy throws 2 picks at the end. They lose the game. And now there's a lot of people going, he's not the guy. And then all of a sudden it comes out that he was concussed. And it's like, well, wait a second. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure. So we'll see. It's this constant roller coaster. But it's like there was so much negativity about Brock this summer. So many people were so convinced that Trey Lance was the guy. And then suddenly Trey Lance wasn't the guy, and he's now moved on to Dallas where he's TBD, right? We don't know.
You know what's funny to me?
And then everybody was anti-Purdy, and then suddenly he played really well for a few games, and then it's like everybody's on the bandwagon, and then as soon as he loses a game here, throws a pick there.
But Larry, I also think that there's also a sense that it feels like we can't even evaluate him. Like, is it not okay to say, hey, this game was good or this game was bad, and not? Can we just not? So are we getting to a point where we can't even evaluate him fairly game to game? Like we just can't do that.
I've been saying it. I've been saying he had a bad
really
game.
Good for 12 games. Just the game that happened today doesn't count. We're going to talk about everybody on the team but Brock Purdy. There's like this weird, like, little brother. I don't know what it is.
I don't feel any pressure at all to doctor my opinion based on the crowd. Listen, and it's unfortunate that people do.
But you can't say that there's not a weird vibe that you can talk about Steve Wilkes not doing what he needed to do. You can talk about the defense not doing what they needed to do. You can talk about the offense not doing what they needed to do. You can talk about Jake Moody. You can't talk about Kyle Shanahan either. That one's off limits. And you can't talk about Brock Purdy, because the moment you do, it's like this visceral,
you're right.
Yes, you're totally right. It's like, nah, bro, I'm evaluating what I see. When he played good for 5 weeks, I told you, you know what? I don't know what Brock Purdy's going to be long-term. I, again, have an opinion, but I can't say for sure. But right now, if I'm doing a quarterback power ranking, he was playing like a top 3 guy, and we were talking about possible MVP. And then 2 weeks later, it's like, yeah, he didn't play great for stints in a Vikings game.
But he's supposed to continue saying in that moment and that he's still the MVP.
Exactly. So then should I acquiesce and be like, oh, you know what, though? But Brock Purdy was we can't talk about him. Like, no, bro, I'm going to tell you, it wasn't good in those 2 throws. It wasn't good in the Cleveland game. Like, what do you want me to say? You want me to?
Right.
I'm just saying, Jesse, there's more people. There's more people There's more people that get off of the Purdy bandwagon faster. And it makes me think they never really were on
Larry,
it.
People are
never
they
weren't on it. That's their problem, Larry. Why does it bother you?
No, I'm just saying, like, let's just give you Justin Herbert, for example. Justin Herbert's career, he's got, whatever. He's got, they don't win a lot of games. Now, some people say quarterback stat. It's not ultimately, I know scouts who literally are like, dude, it is about the wins. It does matter who wins and who loses. And that is an important stat. And I do evaluate. I know scouts who made hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, who worked in the league for decades, who really believe in the win stat as far as quarterbacks, really believe in it. And yet other people would say, hey, no. Quarterback stat's not a win stat. And like, I'm just saying that I get the feeling like people don't ride or die, or they don't jump off the bandwagon with the guys who are, in their minds, more proven. They ride or die and get off the bandwagon very quickly with Brock. They never really believe
the league. Larry, in my chat every week, I have people telling me, "Oh, you didn't you think Josh Allen was really good? Did you see him this week?" And I'm like, "Have you seen him for 3 fucking years?" Like, oh, 1 week, now he's not good. People do it with the elite quarterbacks in the league, Larry. Like, of course it's going to happen with Brock Purdy. Like, it is what it is. Who cares what these people think?
You can't let it every week. The funniest part to me, and this is the part that really makes it funny to me, is immediately you then get labeled as, oh, you're the Trey guy, the Trey sexual, right? That's what people start calling you. You, Larry, were higher on Trey Lance than me. That's the funny part to me. Right. And that's the funny part to me, because, and that's where this Brock Purdy discussion gets toxic. If you're asking why people are going so far and you're asking why people are feeling pressured, it's because there was such a toxic argument about this for 3 months straight, dividing this fan base. And now anytime somebody doesn't say what they want to hear, they have to then immediately go to that ad hominem attack, right? Like when I say, oh, I need to still wait and see on Brock Purdy, it's because, see, he's a Trey guy, and Trey wasn't that guy. Can anybody find a video of me saying, like, oh, I 100% believe Trey Lance is going to be that guy? In fact, I feel like when the 3 of us used to have those discussions back then, I was the least positive on Trey Lance of the 3 of us. And I still think that's probably the case.
Yeah, you're a hater. What can I say? You're a hater on
exactly,
Lance.
Right? I'm a hater. But the point is that it's not about like, okay, you have to be able to say this guy is the guy and all that. The guy is playing out his career. We can see him go through it. We can evaluate him game by game, get a better understanding for his game. Right now, it looks like he has the skill set to be the long-term answer for the 49ers. Whether he fulfills that is a different question mark. And there's a lot of things that need to play out in his career for him to fulfill that.
Yeah, I'd like to know, I'd like people to be on the record and just ride with it. If you think if you're like me and you think he's going to be good, just say so. And if you're wrong, you're wrong. And if you're in another camp and you're like, he's not the guy long-term, then in my mind, you don't believe in him. And then just ride with that. But don't be like, well, I like him today because today's good, but I don't believe in him long-term. It's like, what are you saying? You're just basically saying he's the best they got right now.
That. No, you can do that because he is playing good right now, but that doesn't mean you believe in him long term. Larry, They're two different things.
So why do you think he's playing good now, but you don't believe in him long term?
Because he's surrounded by buku talent. Like there's
so you're really saying that he's a product of the talent around him. He's not.
Portion, yes. I'm not saying he can't be a long-term
everybody
starter.
is to some degree, right?
Of course, everybody. Yes, of course, everybody is. Of course, everybody is, Larry. Yes, everybody is to some degree, but there is an element where he's going to have to get paid a lot of money, and that talent's not going to be there. And when it does, that's when I question things. Now, we've seen it in small sense, and it hasn't looked great. So, I mean,
I'm just saying that if you really look at these,
I don't know if I'm right.
Every good quarterback in the league right now that you would already make a call on.
Okay, let's do it.
They all
have like this.
They all have good players around them, right? They all have good weapons. Like
listen. Let's do it like this. When the 49ers lost CMC and Deebo Samuel, okay, a lot of people are like, well, what do you expect? He didn't have CMC and Deebo Samuel. Okay, well, if I took Brandon Ayuk and I took Jordan Mason or whoever you prefer, do you prefer Mason or Mitchell?
Mason.
Okay, so if I took Ayuk, Mason, and Kittle and said, okay, let's look at the Ravens' weapons and compare them. Let's compare Edwards and Flowers and their tight end versus
Andrews.
What the 49ers have. Andrews. Or if I look at the Chiefs and say, let's look at whatever receiver you think's the best over there. None of them are very good. And Pacheco and Kelsey versus these three players. Like those three players are for some teams, good teams, the most that they have. That's what they have every week. Like that's as good as it gets. So if they lose one or two of their best players, now all of a sudden they're down to just Brandon Ayuk, no Kittle, and no Mason. They don't lose their two best players and go, oh, we still have Kittle and Ayuk and Mason. Most teams don't have that luxury. That's not a real thing across the league. It is for the 49ers, though. So, yeah, if I take Kelsey away from Mahomes, maybe it's not going to look as good. But who the F else is there? There is nobody else there if I take Kelsey away. That's the difference.
We saw Mahomes lose a Super Bowl. He still had awesome weapons. He just didn't have tackles.
Yeah,
so it's a team game. So it's like,
Larry, you're not going to be wrong if he doesn't win a Super Bowl. I'll tell you what is not going to happen from me. I'm not going to come back in 5 years if somehow we remember this conversation, and I doubt we will, but maybe we do. I'm not going to come back in 5 years and be like, Larry, Brock Purdy is playing great football, and by every measure, he's still playing good, but you were wrong and I was right because he didn't win a Super Bowl. Like, I'm not going to say that. I don't care if he wins a Super Bowl. Of course, I want them to win a Super Bowl, but I'm not going to judge him if they don't win a Super Bowl and say he's not a good quarterback. There's lots of good quarterbacks that I think play in this league right now that haven't won a Super Bowl. There's bad quarterbacks that have won a Super Bowl. That's not my end all be all.
It's just like, I'm just saying, compare him to Herbert, for example, who has weapons, has size, has arm strength. Everybody thinks he's good.
So are you taking him over Herbert? Are you taking him over Herbert?
I mean, I Herbert has something really, really special as far as
you taking him over Herbert? It's a yes or no. It's very simple. Because I'll tell you right now, I am absolutely not taking Brock Purdy over Herbert. Not even close.
I mean, I haven't studied Herbert because I'm not a Charger fan and I don't study Herbert, but I've got lots of concerns about Herbert.
Okay. So you're taking him over Herbert, but you reserve the right to
I've studied Brock more than I've studied Herbert.
Okay.
I'll say this. There's a flaw to Herbert. I just haven't put my finger on exactly.
But for the guy that wants opinions from everybody else, doesn't have an opinion when I ask him a direct question.
But we're studying this player weekly, all the time. We've watched this guy a ton.
Okay.
But when I asked you, I said, Larry, give me. So you're saying he's going to start for 8 years. You were like, well, 8 years is a long time.
I mean, 8 years. Mahomes has not played 8 years yet.
No, but when you say, well, you got to tell me right now if he's good. Like when you say, oh, if he's that guy, in my mind, that's what I'm thinking. If you say,
all I'm saying is,
that
based on what you know right now, do you think
you're asking me if he's
long term? And I would say yes.
Okay, long term. What is long term? How many years?
I would say, in a sport like football, you got to say 3 to 5 years because it's just,
okay. So
there's a lot of injuries. I mean, the average career is
3 years. You're asking me at the minimum 3 years.
3 to 5 years from now,
Brock Purdy will be the starting quarterback of the 49ers.
No.
3 years from now, right now, based on how he's played through 12 games, yeah, I do think
you would say
he has
yes.
the opportunity to last. Yeah.
And Jesse, what would you say to that?
As
what was the question?
3
to 5 years. 3 to 5 years from now, will Brock Purdy still be the starting quarterback for the Niners?
3 years, I could see it. 5 years, no.
Okay, so something's going to happen.
As definitive as it gets, Krug. That's as definitive as it gets.
All right, fair enough.
All right, now, how about you? Come on.
I say yes.
No. Purdy or Herbert. Yes. Come on.
3 to 5 years, yes. 8 years. I mean, come on. 8 years is a long time. 8 years is a long time. Well, would you guys at least admit 8 years is a long time?
No, of course. That's why I refused to answer the question in the first place. Because I thought the premise was asking me, do you want me to tell you if he's going to be the starter 8 years from
let's
now?
just take the years out of it. If you just let's take all the years out of it. Do you believe that Brock Purdy, in my opinion, we're having a debate like, do you think Brock's real or not? And if you say that you think he's real, then you're in one camp. If you think that he's not, then you're in another camp. I think he's real. And that's why when Shanahan said he's the real deal, a lot of people push back. And
he's physically seen him in person, Vish. He knows he's alive.
I think he is the real deal. Yes, I do. And maybe I'll be wrong. And there'll be plenty of people that will tell me I'm wrong if I'm wrong.
But what's the real deal? Like, the real deal is that, hey, this guy is the real deal, which means that he's a starting quarterback in the NFL. That makes him a real deal. He can be a long-term starting quarterback in the NFL. That makes him a real deal, because that is something that I can get on board. But if the real deal means that, hey, when we talk about the quarterbacks in the NFL, it's Patrick Mahomes, Brock Purdy, Josh Allen. Like, those are the names we're saying 5 years from now. I can't answer that question today. I need a larger sample of Brock Purdy, because those guys have that standing with us right now because they've had multiple years where they've been at the top of the league. This guy has not completed 1 year of starting.